Many are predicting that the worst is yet to come, which is unfortunate, said one person here. Until now, they've enjoyed the reputation of being the nation's icebox.
Watched a burglar in his home this morning by webcam.
As a journalist of over 25 years, stories are what make my world turn.
Reporting live from the Dallas newsroom tonight, Jeff Crilley, Fox 4 News.
But in 2008, I took the jump from my familiar life and started a PR firm from my home.
We're talking about anyone with a camcorder like the one I'm using becomes a television network.
We started slowly growing the company, and we now have over 100 clients, and we've branched into the world of live digital broadcasting. I now own 8 different TV studios and have a huge team, and the stories that I now get to share are sometimes the most important of my life. Life has a funny way of coming around full circle. This is the Jeff Crilley Show.
Well, with some 40 million Americans out of work, networking has never been more important for people looking for a job. And if you have a job, you got to circulate to percolate. To talk about that, an expert on networking, Bill Wallace, a longtime friend of mine and founder and CEO of Success North Dallas, a group that's been around for 31 years?
31 years.
That's amazing.
It is hard to believe. When I started that, I started it to separate myself from the herd. It's named Success North Dallas because that's where I wanted to sell insurance. And little did I know that somebody else would get their hands around it, big guy. And because I thought 3 to 5 years, pay my dues. No, it's got a life of its own. Jeff, our members have started 98 companies, 1,000 jobs, 7 Ernst & Young Entrepreneurs of the Year. And we've got... we just had our 49th published author, not book, but author, and a couple of nonprofits, television series, and there's times I just say, I don't know what all's come out of the room, but I do know one thing that's come out of the room, and that's a large number of people who care deeply about their fellow men and women.
That's wonderful. And we've both seen network groups come and go because they're not doing it right. They're not really giving back. It's not focused on the other person. It's too self-centered. One of the things that you wisely did when you first started it is you said no card pushers. Nobody wants that guy who runs through the room and passes out 100 cards.
Now, you get dealt a card. It's the same thing as sitting at a poker table. One or the other of the cards. And well, actually, statistically, there's a 95% chance that, or 80% chance that both of the cards will go in the trash. There's a 95% chance that at least one of them will. And so what I say to people is never give a card away. I haven't in 15 years without asking for permission first, because at least, even if you've done that or they've asked, it makes a difference. My card has one corner cut off. Some people will ask why, and it's so you'll ask. My card has a story on the back of it. The front of the card, Success North Dallas, the logo, success, I say, is what we all aspire to. The logo has interconnecting C's in it. As you can see, if you look at the book and you'll see the logo on it, the interconnecting C's are how we do it. And then on the back of my card, it says, connecting the right people for the right reasons at the right time, since 1988. And that gives somebody something to think about, because when you go into a networking event or any event, there's 3 things that you have to do. You've got to be accessible. I have to be able to find you. You have to be able to find me. Once I find you, you have to be approachable. You can't be walking around with your head down. Can't be over in the corner in a clique. You can't be dealing cards. You've got to be accessible. You have to welcome me into your space. Even virtually now, you have to make me feel I'm the most important person in the world. And then finally, you have to be accountable. And accountable, ... to that relationship that occurs from the first encounter. And rest assured, my friends, you don't know when that's going to occur. That might have occurred in the parking lot when you cut off the one person you wanted to talk to. Is he going to talk to you now? Or maybe I'm the speaker and I cut you off and I don't even acknowledge you. The next time you see me, I'm walking out onto the stage. Don't even tell me what you're thinking, I already know. So these are the things that we have to be so attentive to, especially now. And in the virtual world, people people say, I have a Rolodex that would rival the federal government. Well, I do know a lot of people because the qualifications for Success North Dallas I try to enact in my own life, and I miss it some of the time, of course. But the first one is be a success in your own eyes. I have no right, nor does anyone else have, to define what success is for you. Honor your commitments. Let's go back to the handshake. And be a giver. It's all about our fellow men and women. That's the criteria for Success North Dallas membership. It's not your pedigree, it's not the title on your card, it's the operating system in your heart. And it's just that simple.
We're going to put the book cover up because it's an absolutely beautiful book cover. Tell us about the name. How did you come up with that?
The name. I was on a phone call with a gentleman in California, and he had just interviewed me. And he said, okay, you're the catalyst. You're the catalyst for so many things. And we were talking about a title for my book. And he said, look at the word success and what you do. And so Mitchell Levy, who actually was the publisher, got this book out of me in 3 or 4 hours, which I'd been trying to do for 2 years. And being a catalyst for success is the title of the book. The subtitle is The Fulfilling Life of a Servant Leader. And as he said, and as I said about my card, the book and the subtitle has to tell a story. So being a catalyst for success is the story of Success North Dallas and myself. And the fulfilling life of a servant leader defines all of the people in the room, because Success North Dallas is built on that foundation of servant leadership. You know, Albert Einstein once said, a life lived for others is the only life worth living. Because when you lead with that servant leadership, or Jeff, when I talk about networking is this, and we talked about the cards going in the trash can. You have to do something a little bit different. Mine has a story. A friend of mine in New York City, Jeff Hazlett, and we originated C-Suite together. But Jeff Hazlett started a contest called the 118. The average elevator ride in New York City is, or was, I don't know what it is now, 118 seconds. You have 8 seconds to tell someone who you are and 110 seconds to learn everything you can about them while leaving a slight hook at the end, such as, that's incredible. I'd love to hear more. All about them, because their interest in you is only going to be governed by your interest in them. So that's the first step. The second step of that, after you've had this hook, after you've had this conversation, you start doing what I call net weaving. And that's when Jeff and I start weaving our networks together. And it's just not our networks that are being woven together. It's all the networks that he has woven with and all the networks that I have woven with. And it's exponential. But that's not going to happen if there's not some genuine interest, some care, a hook, a conversation, not a card tossed in somebody's face. And then the final level of networking is that of servant leadership. And that's when I meet Jeff, and the first thing that goes through my mind is, who might I introduce Jeff to that Jeff would be better off for knowing? And who might Jeff benefit as well? Because what goes around comes around. So how can I help? Inevitably, if done with the right heart and mindset, turns into, how can I be helped? It goes full circle.
And I've got to brag, you've got some of the top speakers in the country come in. None of them are paid. They're paying their own way to be on your stage. And we actually sent one of our reporters, Sarah Macias, out a couple of years ago for one of your events. Let's go ahead and roll that tape.
Oh, wow.
You can do things you never imagined possible before.
Dozens of entrepreneurs signed in, grabbed a plate, and took a seat to learn about ways they can improve to make their company better. Success North Dallas, an organization made up of businessmen and women, hosted Michael E. Gerber and Fred Parrish. Both men wrote the book The E-Myth, Chief Financial Officer, Why Most Small Businesses Run Out of Money and What to Do About It.
Most small companies, even years after they've been operating, have no CFOs.
According to the website Small Biz Trends, more than half of small businesses won't make it past 5 years. Gerber and Parrish say it's because they are not keeping track of the money.
A lot of companies call their bookkeepers CFOs, and just because they think the bank is going to like that. But it really puts them in a position of risk.
Fred really gets what's happening in most businesses and their needs for the financial data to be in an understandable manner and what the future of that function is.
Many times it's the small businesses owned by younger people that fail. Small Biz Trends says 16% of small business owners are 35 years old or younger. The number of younger people starting a business is expected to rise.
Wow. That's amazing. Okay,
That surprised me.
you've had so many amazing speakers, best-selling authors. Name a few. I'll give you a chance to name drop.
Oh
here.
my gosh, name dropping. Well, Dr. Ben Carson, when he was running for president, he spoke. It was very interesting. We don't pay speakers their expenses, and we had booked him before he had declared. And I said, well, we'll figure out something to do a fundraiser for you. And he said, Mr. Wallace, I will not be the one that violates the tenets of your organization. I know you do not pay speakers their expenses, even if they're running for president. And that just stuck with me. Craig Hall, multi-billionaire, this is a fun story, 3 vineyards, property I think is now in 38 states. And he wrote a book called The Perfect Score, an entrepreneur's venture into the wine industry. And we did that, and we hosted a cocktail party for it, and he spoke, and then the phone rings a couple of years later, and he said, when's your lectern open? And I said, well, correct. What about it? He said, well, I'd like to speak. I have a new book coming out, and Boom is the name of it. Boom, Reigniting the Spark Entrepreneurship. And I said, that's awesome. And so he spoke on Wednesday morning, and Wednesday night I went to a party at his publisher's home in Highland Park. And she met me at the door and said, you scooped me. You got my own author before I could have the coming out party for his book. and then on a very serious note, we had the chief economist of the Federal Reserve Board, the bank, booked as our speaker 10 days after 9/11. I got a phone call, obviously right after 9/11, that said he could not speak. But he also said, I sent your website to Greenspan, who was the only one speaking. He was heading the Fed then, saying if we speak anywhere, we should speak here. I get a call on Monday morning, and he said, Bill, I've been cleared to speak, but you cannot send it out again. It's just going to have to stay the way it is, and I'll be there, but you can't tell anybody. So on Tuesday morning, I get a call from the country club. They said, do you have anything going on? There's security walking all over the place. Well, he spoke. And then in October, a bit emotional, but in October, on Sunday evening, I got a call from the special agent in charge of the Dallas FBI. And the call went something like this. We're going to be declassified at 4 p.m. on Tuesday Central Time, 5 p.m. on Eastern Time. And we would like to give our first talk at Success North Dallas. And you can imagine what was going through my mind. Who's playing this joke on me? What is this guy? And I said, so tell me a little bit more about who you are. And he said, well, maybe I can do it better this way. We were very impressed with the way you handled your meeting. And when you said, I know most of the reporters, but in case there's one in this room I do not know, put up your notepads and pencils or get out now. And he said, that impressed us. And the way you handled the crowd impressed us. And the people in the room impressed us. Because you see, we had 2 or 3 of our people there as well. And so Wednesday, the 3rd Wednesday of October, they start with the vellum overhead projector slides, And he said, some of these are still marked top secret because we have not had the opportunity to redo them. And, quote, here's how he started the presentation. The investigation into 9/11 was launched 30 seconds after the second plane hit out of the Dallas field office, as we were deemed to be one of the most secure. And yes, people were flying. Agents were flying in from both coasts to Dallas and being sent from Dallas to those threat areas that we assessed were the highest for entry or attack. For the next 45 minutes, my friends, you could have heard a pin drop. It was unbelievable. And then the head of Scotland Yard, head of emphasis out of people of India, Chris Kennedy Lawford. And politics can come into this one because I said to him, I said, now, and I happen to be a Republican, but that's my choice, not yours. But I said to him, why would I have a Kennedy speak at my group? And he said, my path to addiction started on the way home from the hospital when my mother and father put my bassinet on the bar at the Beachcomber and got tanked on the way home. Because you see, back then, women stayed in the hospital 3 or 4 days. And then my birthday present from my father was a vial of cocaine for my 18th birthday, which we shared together at the Playboy Mansion. And I said to him, how did you stop this road to addiction? And he said, better yet, the answer is what stopped it? When my 24-year-old daughter became an addict. And my next words were, and when are you speaking at Success North Dallas? And at the end of this meeting, we were talking about sponsors, we were talking about people to be able to talk to, and I made a statement totally off script. If any of the people in this room are recovering alcoholics or addicts, and you want to stand up and be recognized so somebody else in this room might come to you and talk to you. I had 2 people I've known for a very long time, one very close. And 2 people stood up that just, I was stunned. And because of that meeting, 4 people ended up in some form of a recovery program. So there's a lot of magic. I often say, I have got the greatest job in the world. I get to put 2 people together, take a step back, and watch the magic happen. And sometimes I actually get paid for it. That's not what it's all about. But if you do the right things for the right reasons, your compensation will be beyond measure. Beyond measure. You know, in the insurance industry, I worked with 164 startups.
Wow.
And I speak all over the U.S. on networking, on startups, but I worked with 164 startups, so I got to see the good, the bad, and the ugly. And now we band together, we'll fund companies, and it's just been an amazing career.
Well, one of the coolest things that I think you've started in the last few years is the Young Executives group, and we've got some video of a recent happy hour. Tell us about the youth group.
Well, starting last year, early last year, I had laid out 3 sage goals. One was to get the book out. That was great. Another was to create a young executives group. And I see I'm looking at the video and it's amazing, but the young executives group is so we can go on another 30 years because I'm aging, other people are, and these people, I've mentored 35 juniors to doctoral candidates. And people ask me why I mentor. And I say this to them. They ask me questions I'd never think to ask. They challenge me in ways I never thought I could be challenged. And they keep me young. And so we started that. And the other one was to increase our partner member content. When we turned 25, we started something called Partner Members. So we could go another 25 years. And these are some companies, 10, that have come alongside of us financially so we can keep our dues down in what we do. But our dues are $345 a year. That includes all 12 meetings, the food you eat, and the first-time guest you bring. And these young executives, they're just, well, here's what they did. They called Craig Hall. They said, could we meet in your boardroom? Not only did they meet in his boardroom, he did a wine tasting for them. They're doing things, they were further along in 3 months than I thought they'd be in a year. And so I'm so proud of them. They are truly our future. There's no question about it. You know, when I started this, Jeff, a little start story. My mentor was Herb Kelleher and Roger Meyer, largest Cadillac dealer in the Southwest at that time, and Herb Southwest Airlines. And I was sitting with Herb one day, Herb looked at me and he said, Wallace, when you figure out why I should do business with you, come back. Now get out and figure it out. That was in March of 1988. So for the next 6 months, I looked at everything people did not like in networking, because I was going to start a high-level networking group, an informal type board of directors, mentor group, but I was going to make it high level. And so I went back to Herb and Roger, and I told them, I'm going to put a sadhana. That's a Buddhist word. It's a cute word. A sadhana means a taboo against what makes one feel uncomfortable, against everything that people don't like in networking. Card pushers, pitch bookers. Well, down at the end of that list were women, because in 1988, women were not welcome in networking. And I said, women? And he said, yes. And I said, no, except women. He said, you're going to have a problem. And I said, no, sir, I'm going to have a big problem. You said be disruptive and create transformational change. Think about that. Be disruptive and create transformational change. And I'm going to do that. We're going to be a minimum of 30% women from day one. And oh my goodness, I ended up insuring some of the most powerful women in the U.S. because of that. Success North Dallas was helping to feed my insurance business because I was taking people to Success North Dallas to meet other people. And oh my goodness, they started taking people to Success North Dallas to meet me. Wow. And it worked. And 3 of the 5 founders of NABO, American Idol, Pinnacle, incredible, wonderful women who had my back like you could not believe, and still do. And at our 25th anniversary, the only lunch we've ever done, because we meet from 7 to 9 a.m., and we're going to start a virtual membership because our meetings are now in 10 states, 6 countries since COVID-19. We launched a new website during COVID-19. Again, like last year, looking at what we hadn't done. This year, when COVID-19 came, we looked at everything we hadn't done. It was a website, starting virtual. We started virtual town halls. So these wonderful, incredible people, those 14 people, on our 25th anniversary, there were 400 sitting in the room. Ambridge Hotels paid for everything. We had Ross Perot Sr. welcome, Boone Pickens hosted. We had the CEOs of Fluor, USAA, 7-Eleven, and BNSF on the same dais. We honored Nancy Lieberman, and I looked out at the room. And ladies and gentlemen, you want to know what networking is? This was one of my proudest moments. The room was 50% women. And then I understood what Herb really said when he said, well, heck, Wallace, I gave them hot pants and booze, you give them women and networking. And it's been magical, Jeff. It's been magical.
Bill, I'm so impressed with you. You're absolutely going to have to come back again. We're going to put the website up so everybody can plug in. The meeting is always the
third Wednesday of every month, and that's our new website, so go look at it. And our next meeting, we're actually going to go back in person. We'll do it virtual as well. But we have the CEO of Club Corp coming on July the 15th, David Pillsbury. We will be at Prestonwood Country Club. If you want to know about the meetings, if you want to know about the 6 happy hours that we're going to do as this year goes through, if you want to know about our virtuals, go to our website and sign up for our emails. And you will be able to stay in the know that way. I always say, sign up for our emails to stay in the know. People say, well, just put me on the list. We don't put anybody on our list. We want people that want to be on the list to sign themselves up. And then, if you've never been to a Success North Dallas meeting, when you get the announcement, sign up as my guest and come check us out on me, because we would love to have you, because it's all about being a success in your own eyes, honoring your commitments, and being a giver.
Hey, will you sign off this show the way you sign off every meeting?
I would love to. Ladies and gentlemen, may you do what you love to do with people you love to do it with on purpose. God bless and Godspeed. See you on July 15th.
That's it for now.